Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Matthew Clark here today from the Awakening Exchange with a very dear friend of ours, Valerie Cartonio from the Prison Podcast. Valerie, how are you?
Great, Stephen. How are you doing?
I am doing superb. And the reason why I asked you to come on today and to make this short recording is in relationship to what you shared with me about your interviews with prisoners on death row and why you are kind of shifting gears to focus on these whole gentlemen that are on death row right now in the North Carolina prison system. Maybe if you would just share a little bit with me and share a little bit here with the audience today, why shifting gears and focusing on these death row inmates is so important to you.
I've been meeting with the Center for Death Row Litigation and the Coalition for Alternatives for Death Penalty. And both groups have brought up that next year, 2024, North Carolina will be having a new governor come into office. Right now, they have a Democratic governor, and he has had a moratorium on all executions since 2006. If a new governor comes in who is for the death penalty, they could start executions up again in 2024. This really hit me this past week. I was talking with JJ from North Carolina Central Prison, and he said that if that happens, there's going to be a lot of men that are going to lose their lives there. Many of those that I am talking with have been there for 30 years, which I just can't fathom 30 years on death row. But anyways, the thought of that happening has really affected me, and it's pushing me to want to record everything I can get from these men because they have stories to tell. And if the state of North Carolina changes their position on the death penalty, they may not be able to tell their stories.
Wow.
And that I need to do it, and I need to do it now while we have the time.
So it sounds like you are really inspired and motivated to get in there and capture the narrative of these men that have spent up to 30 years on death row and really to give them a voice and allow them to be seen, heard, and felt before these executions do come back in place. Do I have that right?
Yes, and let's hope that they don't. I mean, I would like to see them abolish the death penalty here in this country.
That's right.
When this is why I feel it's so important to get these stories out, because these men, they have a lot of purpose, even though they're in prison. And that's the thing I think we need to understand is, just because somebody's in prison, even if they're there the rest of their lives, they can still do something for society and give back. And I have found that with the men that I've been talking with. Some of their stories have really moved me and changed me. And I think that, others will be affected too.
You know what percentage of men, you know what percentage of death row inmates or what percentage of men that were once on death row are exonerated through either the Innocence Project or through DNA or through efforts of people in the community?
I don't know what the percentage is right now, but I know since DNA has come around, when it first records were around 120 people, and I'm sure it may have doubled by then.
That's interesting. And also what has been like how many people have you currently interviewed and what's that experience been like for you?
I think it's been about 9 that I've interviewed from death row. A couple just do their poetry and it's very light. Others have told about their stories growing up, struggling with mental illness and violence within the home, and a lot of that, the struggles that they had. Those are very hard to listen to, and it's. I don't want to say it's easy to understand how something happens, but a human being can only go through so much, and then they start to shut down, sometimes mentally, and schizophrenia comes into play, and just completely removing yourself mentally from what's going on.
That's
And
right.
so with treatment and proper medication and being watched, a lot of men that had great problems when they came into the system don't have those problems anymore because they've been treated.
Valerie, you have done a wonderful job. I've had a chance to listen to a few of your podcasts from North Carolina. Thank you very much for that work and that service that you're doing. If you continue forward and we are able to achieve some sponsorship for you, how do you see your work impacting the system of mass incarceration? And how do you see your work supporting with a new system of healing?
Well, with the work that's being done on my podcast, I take sociology and peace studies, blend them together, and I take sociology, which is what makes us tick, all the things that happen in our past and how we develop. And then you take peace studies, which is around empathy, compassion, forgiveness. You combine the two. And I feel that by going into these subjects, we can help people learn about themselves. Because with education, we learn as much about ourselves as we do about the subjects.
That's right.
And I think that's, a lot of it is by providing materials that people can listen to. The other thing is giving people hope that somebody out here cares. I've been doing this work for 20 years as a volunteer. I have a master's degree. I've gone to school for this because this is my passion. Prison work has been my passion. And right now it's the death row material. It's just an urgency that we need to do something to stop the executions. There's been 13 executions in this country this year. We're only halfway through the year. And I think I've seen 2 on the news. So they hide it. They don't want us to know about it. And there's reasons for it.
There's reasons for it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here today from my dear friend Valerie Cartonio from the Prison Podcast. The significant importance of us to share these narratives and share these stories with a broader community, and to give a voice to these men and women who have been sitting on death row for years. I can't even imagine thinking I can't even imagine being in that position. Tomorrow could be the day my life ends, or if my appeal doesn't go through, they're gonna, strap me down to a board and inject me, or they're gonna stand me up because they still have firing ranges where they have people that shoot at you. So it's really it's really a nightmare to even consider, and it's really it speaks to the human spirit, especially these folks that are on death row that are innocent, that will be exonerated if they're given the opportunity, if they have the legal staff to represent them, or these folks that are on death row that they know, maybe they won't be exonerated, but they know that they didn't do it, and they've been fighting and they've been screaming and they've been trying to reach out to anybody and everybody that will listen to them. But we live in a system where the system's been challenged for a long period of time with ethics, with accountability, and I think with a true value system of what justice really looks like. So I admire you. I admire the work that you're doing. And I just want to let you know that your family here at the Awakening Exchange really stands behind you and stands behind your mission and your vision. So thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Stephen, and all the people at the Awakening that have been such a good support.
Of course, of course. And I hope we can continue to do that for you, my friend. Thank you very much and many blessings.
Thank you.